My name is Avery Ross, I'm 36 years old and currently living and working in Santa Fe, New Mexico. That morning, while waiting for coffee at my usual spot, I opened Instagram out of habit. And my blood ran cold. On the screen were a series of photos posted less than 20 minutes ago. My father, R. Harold Ross, sat at the center of a dinner table, beaming under the warm lights of an upscale Italian restaurant. To his left was my mother, Cynthia, in the emerald silk dress I gave her last year. To his right, my sister Reagan, effortlessly graceful as always, and right next to Reagan, resting casually against her shoulder, was Graham Blake. The man who once borrowed $42,000 from me and disappeared like he never existed. I stared at the photo. A 3-tier cake, candles shaped like the number 65, glasses of red wine glistening. Everything pointed to one clear fact. Yesterday was my father's birthday. A full-blown, planned, reserved dinner, with invitations and a guest list. Everyone was there. Except me. A notification popped up. A message from my mother. It was just a spontaneous dinner, sweetheart. Everyone happened to be nearby, so we decided to celebrate. Spontaneous? At a fine dining restaurant in the middle of town, on the exact day of Dad's 65th birthday, with cake, Italian wine, and a complete guest list? I wasn't born yesterday. I zoomed in on the photo. A bottle of Barolo 2013 stood at the center of the table. The exact wine I recommended to Dad just 3 weeks ago when he called and asked, "Avery, what would you suggest for a special occasion?" He'd sounded unusually excited. I'd spent the whole evening researching and listed 3 options. Barolo was number 1. And now, there it was. At the dinner I'd been excluded from. I hadn't even realized I was gripping my phone so tightly that my fingers had gone numb. Graham was there. The man who drained my savings account with promises to pay me back as soon as the next round of funding came through, then vanished. No goodbye. No text. No email. But today, he was back. Welcomed, toasted, seated right next to my father. I stared quietly out the cafe window, where the early sun had begun to filter in. There weren't words sharp enough to cut through what I felt. Being shut out by my own family. Not forgotten. Excluded. On purpose. I let out a dry, bitter laugh. Graham wasn't just present. Reagan had her arm around him in the second photo. Her caption, "Family is everything," followed by a bright red heart emoji. As if my relationship with Graham had never existed. As if the money he owed me was imaginary. I scrolled down. There was even a video. The happy birthday song echoed. My mom rested her hand on Graham's shoulder as my father blew out the candles. The server brought out cake. Everyone clapped. Reagan kissed Dad on the cheek, and then Graham stood and raised his glass to him. My father laughed loudly and said, "Thank you, son." Son? I nearly dropped my phone. I was the one who helped Dad when he hit financial trouble last year. I fixed the roof at the lake house. I paid for Mom's knee surgery. I never asked for anything in return. And now, after everything Graham had done to me, financially and emotionally, he got to be called son. The coffee on my table had gone cold. I didn't take a single sip. Everything inside me shattered, but not enough to make me cry. Maybe because this wasn't surprising anymore. I'd always been the extra in the family. The one they invited when convenient, left out when not. But this time, they made a fatal mistake. They didn't just forget me. They gave my seat to Graham. I reopened an old email folder labeled Graham Muller U. Argent. I'd never deleted a thing. His pleas, the delays, the wire transfers. I had saved everything for one reason only. In case he ever resurfaced. And now, it seemed, that day had come. I texted Marianne, my former attorney, just 4 words, "Ready to move yet?" Less than 30 seconds later, she replied, Always ready. I left the cafe with my palms still trembling. The feeling of betrayal coiled in my chest like a rope, tightening around each breath. But beneath the sting was something else. Intuition. This wasn't just anger from being excluded. Something felt off in those photos from last night. Something familiar. Driving home, I connected to Bluetooth and called Kellen, my longtime friend and financial advisor from Austin. He once helped review investment terms back when I still foolishly trusted Graham. Graham Blake? Kellen's voice shot through the speaker after I explained the dinner. Avery, are you serious? He's tied up in some fake blockchain venture in Phoenix. I just heard about it a couple weeks ago. I slammed the brakes near a gravel pullout in El Dorado. Blockchain? You mean Graham's fundraising again? Yup. Promising massive returns, targeting people with disposable money. The same con. Looks like he's going after retirees now. The ones who are easy to charm. I gripped the wheel, my mouth bone dry. Retirees. Disposable assets. My father, Harold, had just retired 2 months ago, after selling his stake in his logistics company. Mom had told me, "Your dad wants to dabble in something fun. As long as it's not volatile stock, I don't mind." What's hotter than blockchain? And who's more perfect for Graham than a freshly retired man with liquid assets and no investment direction? Kellen, I said, do you still have the pitch deck Graham sent to those Phoenix investors? Yep. I'll forward it to your email. 15 minutes later, I was back in my living room, laptop open, file downloaded. The first page displayed the logo, Bastion Chain Ventures. Sounded like something straight out of a low-budget Netflix drama. The introduction read, "We are seeking strategic partners to expand blockchain application in regional logistics." Logistics. My dad had spent over 20 years running a logistics company. This wasn't a coincidence. Nothing ever was with Graham. I scrolled to the advisory team section. There he was. Graham. Centered. Gray suit, smug smile. Below were grand claims about co-founding 2 successful startups and raising over $5 million in capital. Lies. I opened the Graham UR Genet folder and pulled up an old email. "Just help me this once, and I promise you 10% equity after the next round closes." I'd believed him then. That message had started a long chain of broken promises. When my phone rang, I nearly jumped. It was Dad. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, voice hesitant. "I just received a proposal from your old friend Graham. It's impressive." I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood. "He's not my friend. He's the man who drained my trust, my savings, and my peace of mind." "Are you thinking of investing?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. "I haven't decided. But Reagan's supportive. She said Graham's changed. That he's matured." I felt a lump rise in my throat. "Dad. Graham borrowed over 40 grand from me. Then ghosted. Never repaid a dime." I stayed quiet because I didn't want to make it worse. There was a long pause on the line. Then Dad exhaled slowly. "I know things between you and him didn't end well. But relationships are one thing, business is another." "Did you see me at the birthday dinner?" I asked sharply. "Oh right. You didn't. Because I wasn't invited." "But Graham was." "Your mom said you were busy." "No one asked." I didn't wait. Before he could say more, I cut in. "Do you have an email? I'll send you some documents." "About Graham. About what he did to me, and others." "Avery, this isn't about making you take sides, it's about making sure you know who you're trusting with your money, your name, your legacy." I hung up and opened a new document titled, Evidence. Graham Blake. Emails. Bank statements. Screenshots. Draft contracts. Even the old chat where he called me stupid but obedient. I compiled it all. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing this because they had invited a con artist into their home, into their celebration, into their hearts. And thought I would stay quiet. Like always. I sat in front of my laptop, the glow from the screen the only light in the apartment at 1 a.m. Outside, Santa Fe was quiet as always, but inside me, everything was loud. My fingers moved fast, opening file after file. Every conversation, screenshot, and message I once tried to forget. But this time, I wasn't revisiting them with sorrow. I was cold, clear, and focused. A new folder appeared on my desktop. Graham, for Dad. I started compiling. First up was an email Graham sent me last June. Avery, just trust me one more time. This project is going to hit big. Once this round closes, you'll never have to worry about money again. I remember crying after reading that. Not because I was moved, but because I knew I'd been blind. Next came a screenshot of a WhatsApp conversation, where Graham explained why he needed $28,000 within 72 hours, and why he couldn't sign any agreement due to out-of-state investment laws. What I didn't know back then was that he sent nearly the same message to another woman, who somehow found me after spotting a vague comment I left on LinkedIn. I added her email to the folder, along with a PDF listing Graham's bank accounts. One of them matched a suspicious LLC, Bastion Development Ventures. Off by one word from Bastion Chain Ventures, the name he pitched to my dad. It wasn't just deception, it was a system built to exploit. Multiple layers, multiple fronts. I clipped an article from a financial paper in Arizona, investigating scam models that target retirees with sophisticated investment pitches. Then I wrote a note below it. Dad, I know this isn't easy to hear. But if you need a reason to stop, here are 17. Marianne, my attorney, and I had verified over the past 2 months. Finally, I attached an audio recording of a call between me and Graham, 3 weeks after he vanished. In it, he said, Avery, don't make this complicated. I don't want you to become the problem right before this takes off. His tone was calm, even sweet, but laced with quiet threat. I typed the email subject line, about Graham and Bastien Misane. Please read before deciding. And in the body I kept it simple. Dad, I know you're an independent man, and I respect that. But I also know Graham. I trusted him. I lost everything. And I stayed silent. I'm not staying silent anymore. The documents attached aren't to make you angry. They're to show you. He's not here for family, he's here for your money. If you still decide to invest after reading all this, I won't stop you. But at least you won't walk into the dark without a flashlight. Love. Avery. I hit send. The screen blinked. Email sent successfully. I sank back into my chair. Not from exhaustion, but from release. I'd finally done the right thing. Not 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Dad? I hesitated, then picked up. Avery, he said, his voice rough. I read it. Every word. I held my breath. Silence. There are things I never knew, he continued, and some things I knew, but chose to ignore. Like when you tried to warn me about Graham before. I'm not trying to prove who was right, I whispered. I just don't want to see you get hurt. More silence. You know, I ran a company for almost 3 decades, he said. But no one teaches you how to spot a con artist in a tailored suit with a charming smile. I bit my lip. Thank you, he said. And I'm sorry for leaving you out of the dinner, that was my fault. I turned my face away. I wouldn't let the tears fall, not yet. So what will you do? I asked. He exhaled. First, I'm canceling the meeting with Graham on Monday. Then I'm calling Virgil, my old legal advisor. There's a lot that needs rechecking. From the ground up. And then, in the same steady tone he used when I was a kid, he added, "You don't have to do this alone anymore." Right then, a message lit up my screen. It was from Mom. "What did you just send your father? Solomon says he's furious and threatening legal action. What drama are you starting now, Avery?" I took a screenshot. I didn't reply. 3 days after that email, I got a call from an unknown number at exactly 5:48 a.m. The screen lit up. Virgil L. My father's retired financial advisor, the man who helped him run Ross Logistics for 17 years. "Avery, good morning," he said. "I just finished reviewing the documents you sent Harold. I just wanted to say, you did the right thing. And, well, there are going to be consequences. Hard ones." I sat upright in bed. "Uncle Virgil, is he okay?" "Is fine. Angry, but clear-headed. And there's something else you need to know. Graham didn't show up alone." I gripped the phone tighter. "What do you mean?" "Cynthia, your mother was the one who arranged for Graham to reconnect with Harold. They've been in contact by email for the past 2 months." The air left the room. I needed a few seconds before I could speak. "You're sure?" "Very sure. Harold authorized me to check his private inbox, and Avery, this wasn't just quiet correspondence. She was actively pushing the investment." One email from her to Graham had the subject line, "Harold won't listen to me, but he trusts Reagan, she'll convince him." Reagan, my sister. The one who preaches family values on Instagram every weekend. "She knew?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "She didn't just know, she was involved. There's a full thread between Reagan and Graham strategizing how to pitch the deck to your father. Notes on slides, edits, all in Reagan's handwriting." I collapsed into my chair, heart pounding. My mother. My sister. They weren't just on Graham's side. They were helping him. "Uncle Virgil, what's Dad going to do?" I asked, not sure I wanted the answer. He paused. "Moved into the lake house this morning, said he needed space to think, and he asked me to contact a lawyer." "A lawyer?" "A divorce attorney." That evening, I received a message from Reagan. "It's a shame you chose to destroy everything. Mom and I were trying to fix this family. You, instead, decided to dig up the past and turn everyone against each other." I didn't reply. But I took a screenshot and sent it to Virgil. An hour later, my mom called. I wasn't going to answer, but something made me press accept. "Avery," she began, "I don't understand why you're making this such a big deal. You wanted Dad to invest in a scam. You're calling it a scam because you're still bitter Graham left you, but no one else sees it that way. He's changed." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "Do you even know how many people he's conned? Or do you only know the sweet nothings he whispered over wine? I did it because your father needed a new purpose after retirement, a project, something exciting. No, you did it because you can't stand that he makes decisions without asking you first. And because you hate that he listens to me now instead of you." Silence. Then her voice dropped. "You embarrassed him. In front of family, in front of friends. I don't know if this relationship can be salvaged." "Which relationship?" I asked. "Yours and Dad's, or yours and Graham's?" I hung up. My heart was still racing. But it wasn't fear anymore. It was rage, honed and steady. That night, my father called. "Avery," he said softly, "I want to thank you. Davidson Markin." I didn't respond. "You helped me see the truth. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary." "Are you okay?" I asked. "No. But I'm starting to be." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I've signed the papers, Cynthia will get them Monday. Reagan might be furious, but I've run out of excuses. You can't build trust on manipulation." I bit my lip. Hearing that didn't bring relief, like I expected. It hurt. Because my family hadn't been torn apart by outsiders. It had imploded from the inside. "I'll be okay," he said. but I need time. And, if you're willing, I'd like you to come to the lake house next week. Just us, no one else. I'll come, I said. He was quiet for a moment. I've been wondering, how long has it been since I let you speak without someone interrupting? I let out a soft, genuine laugh. The first in days. Too long, Dad. But that night, as I packed a small bag for the trip, my phone lit up. A message from Graham. You have no idea what you've just done. This isn't over, Avery. I stared at the screen. Then opened the Graham URGent folder and added a fresh screenshot. And told myself, no, Graham. For me, this is only just beginning. Graham's message still sat boldly on my screen. You have no idea what you've just done. This isn't over, Avery. I didn't delete it. I didn't reply. I simply forwarded it to Marianne with a short note. Ongoing threats. The next morning, Marianne called. Her tone was more serious than ever. Avery, I just got off a call with a contact in D.C. The SEC is opening a federal investigation. They've had Bastian Chain on their radar since earlier this month, and what you submitted is a critical piece. I gripped my phone. My heart pounded. They're investigating Graham? Tack it, just Graham, the entire network behind him. And here's the twist. You're not the only victim with evidence. I shot up from my chair. You mean someone else has come forward? Yes. And she's requested to meet with you. At 3 p.m., I sat in a small cafe near downtown Santa Fe. Across from me was a woman with long silver hair, thick glasses, and cautious eyes. Her name was Loretta Gaines, 64 years old, a retired chief accountant from a financial firm in Scottsdale. I met Graham at an investment seminar, she began, her voice low but clear. He pitched Bastian like it was the greatest invention since cell phones. I invested $90,000, all gone. I stayed silent, letting her continue. He promised equity. Sent a preliminary agreement, but with no real protection. When I asked questions, he said it was standard startup process. 6 weeks later, he disappeared. I pulled out my phone and showed her the draft contract Graham once sent me. She studied it, then nodded. That's the one. But the company name on mine said Bastian Tech. A chill ran down my spine. Though he's using multiple shell companies. Loretta placed a USB drive on the table. I saved everything. Messages, emails, even call recordings. I've already sent part of it to Marianne. But you should have a copy too. There's one clip you'll want to hear. I plugged the USB into my laptop. In the file labeled call_recording_March_12 MIG. Graham's voice rang out. Confident and disturbingly familiar. Don't worry, I've got someone inside the family of a potential investor. His daughter used to date me. She has no idea. Once I get him to commit, we close the Series A, then pull out. My blood ran cold. His daughter. No one else but me. That line confirmed every suspicion, every hollow feeling I had buried. To Graham, I was never anything more than a pathway to cash. I sat frozen for a moment, then looked at Loretta. Thank you. Really? She gave a quiet smile. We can't stay silent forever. Someone like him can't be allowed to keep doing this. 3 days later, the headlines broke. Graham Blake was arrested at Flagstaff Pulliam Airport, attempting to board a domestic flight to Nevada using a fake passport. Federal authorities confirmed he was under investigation for investment fraud, money laundering, and operating shell companies to defraud elderly investors. Initial charges listed over $2.4 million in losses from 11 victims across 4 states, and that number was still climbing. I was at the lake house with Dad when the news aired on CNN. He stood frozen in front of the screen, gripping his coffee mug. That's the man your mother called a promising investment, he muttered, disbelief heavy in his voice. The one Reagan said was ambitious. I looked out over the still water. feeling like I was floating through a surreal dream. Dad. I used to think I was the only fool. He turned to me, eyes somber. No, you were the only one brave enough to speak up. And because of that, you saved a lot of people. Right then, my phone lit up with a message from Marianne. The SEC has formally requested statements from both you and Loretta. What the two of you submitted was enough to escalate this to federal prosecution. You did what the system couldn't do in 2 years. I closed my phone without saying a word. Because at that moment, I wasn't hearing the news anchors. I wasn't thinking about credit or closure. I was only hearing one voice. Cold. Arrogant. Unforgettable. This isn't over, Avery. He was right. It wasn't over. It was justice. Just getting started. I was sitting on the lake house porch, peppermint tea in hand, when my phone started buzzing nonstop. Not one message, but dozens. Old friends, colleagues, even former clients were texting me. Are you okay? What's going on with Reagan's Facebook? Avery, what's your mom saying about you? My stomach dropped. I opened Facebook. Reagan Ross's profile, my sister, had turned into a full-blown public smear campaign. Her latest post was a photo of me speaking at a small business conference 2 years ago, captioned in all caps. A woman who fakes being a victim to destroy her own family. Pinned at the top was a comment from my mother, Cynthia. Avery has always been jealous of her sister's success and is trying to drag everyone down with her. The accusations against Graham are about a failed relationship, not justice. I swallowed hard. The post had over 700 shares, most from old family friends, people who'd once attended our holiday dinners, who hugged me at graduation, now leaving comments like, I always knew she was a bit off, total drama queen, wealthy but zero loyalty. Reagan didn't stop there. Another post included a cropped email between me and Marianne. Only the line, I can't let them keep living in peace like this, was visible. The rest intentionally blurred. Her caption read, Still need proof this is all about revenge? I gripped my phone. Not from rage, but from deep, aching disappointment. I used to believe that, no matter how biased Mom was, or how self-righteous Reagan acted, they'd never stoop this low. I was wrong. And this time, I wasn't staying quiet. I opened my laptop and created a new folder. Family. Counterattack. Every screenshot, every comment, every doctored image, I saved it all. I downloaded the original email thread with Marianne, the full, unedited version. I sent everything to her with one line. Let's begin. Marianne called almost immediately. I expected pushback, she said, but not recklessness like this. They're rewriting the story, I told her. In their version, I'm the unsable jealous destroyer. Fine. The more data we collect, the stronger our case. Social media cuts both ways. An hour later, Marianne sent me a preliminary legal memo titled Deformation and Malicious Misrepresentation, Initial Grounds. Underneath were bullet points. False narratives, dissemination of misinformation, fabricated evidence, reputational damage and financial harm. Her advice. No public responses. We answer through legal channels. I followed it exactly. No posts, no messages, no calls. I just kept collecting evidence. Within days, I discovered my mother had sent a private message to one of my major clients, claiming I had dishonest conduct with family and ethical red flags. That client, thankfully, was Debbie Keller, who'd seen me fight tooth and nail to build my firm from scratch. She forwarded me the message, with a note. Avery, I know the truth. But you should know they're willing to go this far. I added it to the folder. By now, this wasn't personal. This was a fight to defend my name. And then, something unexpected happened. A message came from an anonymous Instagram account. It included a shaky phone video filmed over a backyard fence. In the clip, my mother and Reagan sat outside, voices low but crystal clear. Just say she was emotionally unstable after the breakup. People will believe it, especially if she doesn't speak up. Reagan. And if Avery sues? We'll see if she has the nerve to go up against her own blood. I froze. Eyes locked on the screen. Whoever filmed this stayed hidden. But they'd just handed me the smoking gun. I forwarded the clip to Marianne immediately. Her reply was short. Game over. Saturday night, as I was organizing legal files with Marianne to prepare for submission, my phone rang. Not a text. Not an email. A video call. And the name flashing across the screen made me freeze. Reagan Ross. I hesitated. My finger hovered over decline, then pulled away. I accepted the call. Reagan appeared in the frame. Hair messy, eyes dark with exhaustion, barefaced. She was sitting in a car, front seat reclined, wearing a worn gray hoodie I recognized. It used to be Dad's gardening sweatshirt. Avery, she began, voice thick. Do you have a minute? I didn't answer. She continued. I just watched the backyard video, that clip. I didn't ask how she got it, I just stared. She swallowed hard, then let out a bitter, joyless laugh. I used to think I was good at controlling the narrative, knew how to make people believe my version of the story. But now, I'm not even sure I believe myself anymore. I leaned back in my chair. So what did you see in that video? The truth. And myself. As a puppet. Mom pulled the strings. Graham set the stage. And I was just proud to be center spotlight. But I was wrong. Completely. Silence. Reagan looked directly into the camera. I went to Mom's house earlier today. She was packing. Looks like she's leaving town for a while. Till no one. But before she left, she still wouldn't admit she was wrong. I nodded slightly. That didn't surprise me. I asked her why she made things up, why she came after you online. And she said one thing. Because she always wants to prove she's better than you. Reagan's voice broke. That's when I realized. She didn't just manipulate you. She manipulated me too. We were both stuck in the family fantasy she invented. I stayed silent. Part disbelief, part uncertainty about how to respond. Avery. I know an apology won't erase what I've done. But I have to say it. Say what? That I was wrong. That I betrayed you. Not just with words, but by staying silent when you needed someone to stand up for you. She pulled out a stack of papers. Screenshots of her posts, comments, and DMs about me. I just submitted everything to Marianne, even the messages Mom sent me, pushing me to spread the lies. And tonight, I'm posting a public correction. No misunderstood intentions, no spin, just the truth. I closed my eyes for a moment, then looked at my sister. Not with rage, but with a soft, aching grief. Wait now. After all these years of standing with Mom? Reagan looked down. Because I saw you standing firm. And I realized that I, the one who always seemed in control, completely fell apart when the truth came out. She looked up, eyes red. And because Dad told me something last night that kept me awake. When did he say? No. He said, Reagan, you can choose silence, but remember, by staying silent, you're helping Graham con more people. That night, Reagan posted. Her profile picture was just a blank white square. No filter, no glam caption. The post was short, only a few paragraphs. I, Reagan Ross, admit that the posts I made about my sister, Avery Ross, were false. I made them in a moment of chaos, under pressure from family, and out of blind belief in a con man named Graham Blake. Avery told the truth, and I, rather than standing beside her, chose to attack her. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness, but I will take responsibility, publicly, and legally if necessary. 3 minutes later, my mother posted again. Same tired tone. Don't let anyone tarnish the bond between mother and daughter. There are always two sides to a story. I didn't bother reading the rest. An hour later, Reagan sent me a screenshot of the email she had just sent to the SEC, requesting to add testimony and submit documents she had withheld. I replied, "Thank you. I know this wasn't easy." Her response was only 4 words. "Better late than never." The next morning, while walking along the lakeside trail with Dad, he handed me a light brown envelope. "Reagan sent this, said not to open it until you're ready." I nodded and tucked it into my jacket. Dad smiled. "I lost a pretend family. And found a real one. I think you did too." I squeezed his hand gently. A breeze swept through the trees, carrying the cool mist of lake water. The wounds weren't healed yet. But for the first time in years, I could feel them healing. In the right direction. That August, I officially moved into my father's lake house on the shore of Heron Lake, in northern New Mexico. A 3-bedroom wooden cabin facing still, mirror-like water. The old porch where I used to sit and play with dolls had become my workspace. For years, I thought coming home meant going backward. But this time, I wasn't returning to a house. I was returning to myself. Dad had fully retired. His mornings were for reading the paper, afternoons for mowing the lawn, and evenings for sipping martinis while listening to his old radio. Sometimes, quiet lingered too long at dinner, residue from the divorce. But for the first time, I saw a kind of peace in him that felt real. I converted the old living room into a design studio. Past clients still sent over work, but now I only took on projects that stirred something in me. No more 2 a.m. deadlines. No more pretending to be perfect to feel worthy. I even picked up where I left off, on that children's book I started sketching years ago. Back when Graham and I lived in that cramped Santa Monica apartment, and I doodled on the backs of grocery receipts. One morning while I was making coffee, Dad handed me an envelope. No return address. Just, "For Avery," from Mom. I didn't open it right away. It sat on my desk for a week. Then, one stormy night, wind howling through the windows, I opened it. Not with hope, but like turning the last page of a story just to close the book. Inside, she wrote, "Avery, I don't know if you'll want to read this. But I need to write it. Even if it's only to finally admit what I've avoided my whole life. I was wrong. I chose appearances over protecting you. I sided with Graham, not because I believed him over you, but because I couldn't bear for others to see a crack in our family. I don't ask for forgiveness, but if one day you can live without anger in your heart, I hope you do. Not because I deserve peace, but because you do." I read it through without crying, just felt something loosen inside me, like a curtain finally giving way to a long dead breeze. The following week, Reagan visited the lake house for the first time in months. She brought a wooden box. Inside were all the originals. The unedited posts, texts, emails that had been twisted online. "Your lawyer will need these," she said. I know. No edge in her voice, no defensiveness. Just a woman learning how to be decent again. From the beginning. That night, we sat on the porch eating Dad's homemade chicken noodle soup. Reagan told me she'd enrolled in an online creative writing class. "I'm thinking of writing about what it's like living in someone else's shadow," she said, "and learning how to step out without feeling empty." I smiled. "Write it. You've got a voice. Just, maybe don't use it to silence others this time." She nodded. No comeback, no wounded pride. For the first time, I believed Reagan was listening, not to the unstapled little sister, but to a woman, finally walking free from the old family script. On a crisp day, as summer turned to fall, I sat on the porch with my laptop open, scrolling through sketches for the nearly finished children's book. On screen, 2 fox sisters. One abandoned in the woods, one led astray by a noisy crowd. In the final scene, they don't try to rewind the past. They simply accept who they've become and meet there. A notification chimed, a message from Marianne. Successfulized the case. Graham's facing 9 felony charges. The court accepted Reagan's materials as supporting evidence. His attorney just offered a civil settlement. Do you want to take it? I typed back. No. I want the truth heard in court. No one gets to buy silence. I hit send and looked out at the lake. Dad sitting on the bench, paperback in hand, eyes fixed on the horizon glowing in sunset. In that moment, I knew I didn't need a perfect family anymore. I just needed one that knew how to make things right. And while healing takes time and the scars still sting, I knew I was facing the right direction now. No more pretending, no more tolerating, only truth, and me. Avery's story reminds us that truth can hurt, but staying silent in the face of lies destroys far more. In real life, some families build a flawless image through control, pressure, and pretense, but finding the courage to speak up, even when alone, is the first step toward reclaiming your worth. Avery didn't just expose a con artist, she broke free from a role forced upon her and rebuilt her life with quiet strength, selective forgiveness, and a belief in doing what's right. What do you think about Avery's journey and the choices she made? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family, healing, and finding your voice.